Welcome to my educational technology internship presentation. My name is Stephanie Galsinski, and I am currently enrolled in my educational technology master's program at Loyola University. I am a math teacher at Ridgely Middle School, and I am working towards helping educators meaningfully integrate technology into lessons and also providing additional professional development. This presentation shares my reflections and personal journey during my internship. Originally, middle school is a lighthouse school, which means 5 years ago it was infused with a lot of additional technology. Teachers and sixth graders received devices first, and then over the next 2 years, seventh and eighth graders received devices. Teachers were kind of thrown into the idea of finding ways to teach using devices. So not only did they struggle a little bit with the implementation, they also struggled with using the device itself. The county did offer professional developments, but they were scattered in the beginning of the year and more toward the end of the year. And during the teaching year, they didn't really have a lot of follow-up opportunities. So I think teachers were looking for more support. So that was one of the reasons why I focused on the idea of providing more follow-up professional developments and finding ways to meaningfully integrate technology into the curriculums. When I evaluated where our school was using Eli's 8 conditions, I feel like the first four were the biggest ones that stood out to me. The dissatisfaction with the way things were when it came to professional developments. Um, we wanted to have more sufficient knowledge and skills, and we were also looking for more leaders to be in our own school. We also wanted to create, it seemed, some type of platform where we could share resources, and a lot of teachers were looking for additional school time, not just time, but school time to be able to collaborate and share what they wanted to learn more about. So therefore, my internship goals were to successfully create and lead a UDL blended learning community to support staff and students. I also wanted to use Tech Tuesdays to provide staff with additional learning opportunities. I wanted to create a resource platform for staff to support collaboration. And lastly, I wanted to establish myself as a blended learning leader in our school. During our first full faculty meeting, it was the third Monday in September. I introduced the idea of our blended learning community. Most teachers were a little surprised by the idea of a PLC because we hadn't had them previous to this year. So this was my opportunity to share my vision with them and then how we were going to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, and then also meet the needs of the administration because this year we had just gotten a new principal, and prior to this, we didn't have PLCs. So the idea of teachers joining a PLC was new to them. So I got the opportunity to share that and then also introduce one of the PLCs that they were going to have the opportunity to participate in. So it was my opportunity to share my vision when it came to the blended learning. And I was able to create this vision because a lot of stakeholders had shared their feedback with me before we left the previous year. The biggest thing they were looking for was more time to focus on integration of the technology. And then also they were looking for more support when it came to professional developments, when it came to using the technology and using it effectively. And they were also looking for time to peer plan. So when I came back, I focused on looking at specific tools. So during a survey, I looked at the feedback data, and the first question was, what technology tools are you currently using in the classroom? And you can see that here. And then also, what technology tools would you like to learn more about? And the data shown, a lot of it's evenly distributed, but it just looked like a lot of it was focused on um, supporting students in the classroom, and then also finding some type of platform to share our resources. My stat teacher and I, before I sent this survey out, she and I focused on, what the vision needed to be, how we were going to communicate that with our staff, and then how we were going to deliver it. So we wanted to focus on our first professional development opportunity, our first PLC meeting. So we offered teachers time to take the survey and then give feedback as to what they wanted to focus on. But when we gave the feedback to them, we made sure that we gave little snippets about each tech tool so that they could focus on what they wanted to learn about. So from that, we had our first PLC meeting and we focused on screencasting for staff support, screencasting, cross curriculum. So we thought it was a good place to start. So before we delivered that, our stat teacher and I created on Schoology a blended learning group where when you joined the PLC, you had access to joining the group. And that's where we were going to create our platform. That's where we could share our resources, we could share tutorials, we could share our artifacts. Additional teachers could look at them, and that would inspire you maybe to create something new or maybe be a little more rigorous with something. So here's an example of what they had created and how we used the platform during our first screencasting PLC. And even if you weren't in the PLC, you could still have access to all of this. You just had to join the group. Besides that, we also wanted to additionally support the staff. So my stat teacher and I offered 2 Tuesdays a month, Tech Tuesdays. Our first Tech Tuesday focused on Schoology because we were just getting up and running. Schoology was new, and we were trying to find ways to help support teachers since it was the beginning of the year. So a lot of teachers wanted to focus on creating groups for their classrooms, and then also that would be a place where they could post materials. Our second one was a flip grid. One of the teachers suggested this, and then everybody climbed on board because they had been using VoiceThread for a while. But Flipgrid was nice. A lot of teachers said it was a little easier to use, and a lot of our ELA teachers really liked the idea because I think for them, they have to do a lot of reading. So this gave them the opportunity to sit back and listen to the students because students would record themselves and they would, answer questions that were posted on a rubric that they had to tend to. So this was really one that was needed, and we got good feedback from our Tech Tuesday from this one. Besides Tech Tuesday, I also offered individual content planning time. Um, I noticed throughout the internship that once we started offering support, teachers wanted more and more. So this wasn't in my original plan. My original plan was to focus on the PLC and Tech Tuesdays, but I would get emails from teachers saying, can you meet during this time? I really want to try this tech tool. I wasn't able to make it to the Tech Tuesday. So during, our either my lesson planning time or my content planning time, I would meet with different teachers. One teacher wanted to create a Kahoot, so we created a Kahoot together. And then another teacher wanted to create a place where she could have students go and review for vocabulary. So we created a Quizlet. So this was another way that during my internship I supported staff. But no matter how we did it, I always asked them to go back and evaluate, how we were doing and then evaluate whether or not they were meaningfully implementing the technology. We didn't want to just use it to use it. So that was, a big idea that motivated me from the very beginning. So we focused on two models. The TPAC model was the one where we, constantly look back and said, are we blending this together well? And then as we went ahead and created the lessons and the use of the tech tools, We went to the SAMR model and said, is this just a substitution? Are we raising the level of rigor? Are we now into augmentation? And then you can see that every time we met, I had them fill out something. Some people chose to do it on paper, so I gave them the option. And you can see at the bottom right, they put down if they were to use this, what level of the SAMR model. You can see this person put an A down there because they thought it was a little bit more than substitution. Again, this person, the way they were thinking about using it, they thought it would be an A level. But I did also ask them as we continue to meet to go back and revisit that and say, do you really think that if you tried this, did it work well for you? And did you think it was at this level? Key concepts that I addressed during the internship was assessment with technology. I went ahead and assessed the teachers using a survey, and then we also created things with teachers, like this one was a vocabulary test on Schoology. Um, this to me was a little more of a substitution, but the teacher really liked it because Schoology grades it itself. So, she was looking at it as, what an effective tool when it came to really analyzing the data and then having time being considered. Key concept 7 was addressed, technology integration and technological tasks. Every time we did something, we kept going back and revisiting and evaluating, really looking at the SAMR model and saying, are we raising the level of rigor? How are we using this? Is it meaningful? The third one was communication skills. I developed and created first a blended learning group so that we could share resources and create that platform. And then I also help create the Ridgely technology support. So if you could not communicate quickly or you weren't able to email for some reason, you could just post your question or your comment right to Schoology so that everybody could see it rather than emailing everyone. So it was more of a group where it was just focused on technology support. The fourth was leadership skills. During my internship proposal, I really wanted to focus on me being a leader, especially when I delivered our first professional development PLC to our full faculty. It allowed me to really focus on my leadership skills and how I wanted to present and show that I was really invested and supported their needs. So ideas for continued professional development. Obviously, I'm going to continue this because it is something that teachers want. It is something that's going well. It was a little tiny bit different from what I think I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be, it's definitely structured, but I'm looking myself for more support from administration because sometimes when we have a meeting, things get switched around a little bit. So I definitely want to communicate next year, that we really want to have this structure and how important it is. But some of the pros that have come out of this is that teachers have really had a voice in what they are spending their time doing and what professional developments they want to involve themselves in. They really like the fact that we're following up on professional developments and that someone is in the school that they can go to if they have questions about something. They really started to come to me more besides our stat teacher when it comes to technology questions, not just in general, but more about the blended learning. So we've really used that to build a community of learners, and we've really started problem solving and revisiting the SAMR model. I would like more time next year and just again the scheduling concerns, but just thought for the future is to have more structured support from the beginning of the year. And I really would like to use Google Docs so that we can share more information and maybe even do some Zoom sessions. Here is the professional development that they were asked to complete for each one. So I want to thank you for visiting, and I really hope you enjoyed our journey together.